Hey everyone, I know it's late January, but I've been really busy, with the other time sensitive things like all the new movies and reviews, and we really want to get those Flash videos out ASAP because we both really like the Flash as a character and invested in the show, so we kept pushing our 2016 movie reviews back. But here it is. Now, before I begin, I just want to say I haven't watched all the movies from 2016 because we started this channel 2 months ago. So I didn't watch Fantastic Beasts because I don't like Harry Potter, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie because again I haven't watched it and I don't want to. I also don't like horror movies, just anything horror, I'm out. But I have watched most of the mainstream blockbuster movies. So these are the top 3 movies of 2016. Number 3 on my list is X-Men Apocalypse, although definitely not perfect, and I can stand why other people don't like it and think it's not very good. So I'm going to break this movie down into 4 parts. I understand how people can think Apocalypse is a bad villain and his team was built in 3 seconds. I liked Apocalypse. Like his armor was pretty cool, and I did think he was a bit small. I really liked his voice. I think that was done well. I think they used 3 voices. The actor's normal voice and then a distorted voice, and I don't know what the other was. Also, the team that was built, and yeah, the team was built quickly, but the thing that bothers me most in that area was the people in the team. Like, sure, Angel was really cool, and I love how Archangel looked, but he's like a class 3 mutant, maybe even 2, and Psylocke, wow, she just had some laser and whips, and then Apocalypse upgraded her, and she could make a longer laser. Really? If I was Apocalypse, I'd have Storm and Magneto for sure, but not those other 2. Probably a time travel mutant and a speedster. But yeah, like with Angel, I probably would have just had him kind of bit in the background and then made him more a bit of a character in the next movie and definitely not killed him off. Wow, that really annoyed me. The X-Men part of the movie was good, like it was decent. I liked all the scenes with Scott and his character, and they didn't overstep him and make him too big of a character. Also, Jean was done well. I liked her in this. The actress who played her was good. Those two had chemistry, and I think they used those two to help develop both of those characters. Like when Alex Summers dies, Jean is there to support him, and when Jean is freaking about her powers, Scott steps up and helps her. So I think both of them helped each other. Professor X was pretty much the same. Like they didn't change him because he was great in the other 2 films. Although he wasn't a big role, just a mentor, and as well he added some humor. I think the main character was Magneto, which I loved. His character by Michael Fassbender has been highlights in both of the other 2 movies. I think the scenes with his family were interesting, and when they died, which I was surprised by, but apparently others weren't. But you feel for him, and I like his revenge redemption story. It's what I've wanted the entire time during the prequel X-Men movies. Also, the scene where Apocalypse brings Magneto to the German Nazi prison where he found out he had powers. That was a really powerful scene, and that's like my second favorite scene in the entire movie. And it's just so great because you see how Apocalypse isn't just some one-sided villain who just hates everyone and just wants to rule, because he clearly cares about the other mutants. Like he treats them with respect. He doesn't insult them. He's really like a father figure, and yeah, it's a great scene of him teaching Magneto and making him like really strong. And yeah, and then you get the awesome scene of him absolutely just ripping apart the prison, and oh, it's just, yeah, it's really, really good. But now on to the best part of this movie, by far, Quicksilver. I loved their little setup in Days of Future Past, and this was still and they're still building towards him being an X-Men, with that epic shot of him in his new awesome outfit. He was funny, it made me laugh every time he talked. They brought a little bit of depth into his character, but not too much, and the mansion scene was the best scene in the entire movie. I'm so glad they spent 3 months working on it because it paid off. I could watch it 100 times and still not get bored. It's so funny and cool with great cinematography and special effects, and it's how it should be done. Like the Days of Future Past scene, which is still awesome but not as good, they built on top of that, and I hope there's an even greater scene in the next movie. Now let's talk about the Wolverine cameo. I liked it. I wasn't expecting it. Like it reminds me of the Darth Vader scene, but not as good, but a little different. The Wolverine was a nice addition that was just a good fan hat tip off to the comics and just to get another look of him. Vader should have been in that film more. Okay, back to the Wolverine scene. The only thing I didn't like was the camera kept on panning away, which I guess they had to not get it a MA rating or an R if you live in America. Now the fight at the end was decent, worth your money and the wait. I'd give the fight about a 6 out of 10 just because it was basic and the characters weren't that interesting who were involved. I did like the scene with Magneto destroying all those monuments. That was really good. But the ending, that was the highlight, which Magneto becoming good again and shooting all those chunks of metal and earth, and then when Jean releases her Phoenix powers and incinerates Apocalypse. And it's a nice wrap up with Magneto and Jean rebuilding the X Mansion, and you see a little look at the new X Men, and I can't wait for the next one. And that's why X Men Apocalypse gets a 7.5 out of 10. Now on to second place, Doctor Strange. Man, I am glad this movie was not bad. Like, when I watched the trailer, I was nervous. It reminded me of Thor, and we all know how that went. Anyways, I was skeptical that Marvel wouldn't be able to successfully introduce magic, and I was worried that they wouldn't explain anything like Thor did, and it wouldn't make sense. But I was so glad that I was wrong. Doctor Strange is a great story about an arrogant, selfish surgeon who is injured and goes on a journey and discovers magic. I really like this movie and can't wait to watch it again because I haven't watched it since it was in cinemas. The team of Magnanimous already did a full in-depth review, but that was our first video, so it's not very good. Back to the review, I'll go on to the negatives, although the positives far outweigh the negatives. The villain. I know, I had to talk about him. The point is, I can't even remember his name. I think it was Cairo Gaius. He was okay. A decent threat with simple goals, but I guess the real villain was Dormammu. He was your typical floating head evil god, which I would prefer his comic book version, the cool black armor with the floating fire head. But I can live with it. And I don't think there was enough training scenes he went through. He went from like a complete beginner to, according to the head magician, people performing forbidden top level spells in a week for all I know. But the thing I really wish they changed or put in is ranged magic attacks. As well as the cool close range combat. Like, picture this. In the last battle, how cool would it be to have Doctor Strange and the Dark Eyes guy flying around the city, shooting lightning and multicolored fire blooms, and you get this really somber, dramatic music playing with the city shaping around them, kind of like the Agni Kai duel in Avatar, The Last Airbender, between Azula and Zuko. And that's all I can really complain about. The rest of the movie is great. Great scenes after scene that makes it stand out because it's a lot deeper than most Marvel movies, as well as expands the Marvel universe. I am happy with the casting choices. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is the equivalent to Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. as Captain America and Iron Man. This movie also has great visuals and special effects. Like, there's two amazing scenes, and it's the first one, it's just they're shaping reality, and the city of New York is like changing, and they're running through the buildings, and it looks so real, and my jaw was just dropped the entire time. The next was like Inception times 10, and it's the city's being destroyed, the Japanese city, and then Doctor Strange shows up and he like uses the time amulet and turns back time to try and uh, rebuild it, and they're like running around it and fighting, and it's so spectacularly stunning. In conclusion, this is a great movie and is a must watch for any superhero, action, romance, magic, reality warping fan. And that's why Doctor Strange gets a 7.8 out of 10. Number 1. Now, this movie, in my opinion, was the best movie in 2016, and that movie is Deadpool. Man, I love this movie. I can watch it over and over. It's so funny and awesome. I'm so glad Fox had the guts to make this movie MA, or this could have been a disaster. Let me start off by saying they nailed the suit. Look at that thing. They didn't go too crazy and didn't add too many lines, and they kept it simple, and it was just perfect in my opinion. And they only CGI'd the eyes, which looked good, and they did it right, because it would have been weird if he had like weird stitching eyes and stuff. Now the plot. I liked how it wasn't in chronological order, because we get one of the best scenes in the movie, and it's a good introduction. The bridge scene. Oh, the counting bullets, the cool slow mo. It's just a great mixture between action and comedy. But most importantly, they absolutely nailed Deadpool as a character. I wouldn't change anything. He was perfect. The actor Ryan Reynolds, he was perfect. To the breaking of the fourth wall, great job, guys. But back to the plot, I liked it that they kept it simple, not completely true to the comics, but that's okay. And the love theme was good. Also, what I'm really glad they got right was the fighting and the scenes of Deadpool just being Deadpool, like when he's looking for Francis and he's just cutting people down in hilarious ways. The camera didn't veer off at all, and the effects were great, but not too gruesome. And the fight between Deadpool and Francis, like how it got really messy and they were both taking hits and stabs, and it looked like a real fight. Like they were on the ground just wrestling, trying to get an upper hand. It didn't look choreographed, which was good. But the scene that I think is the funniest is when Deadpool tries to fight Colossus. In conclusion, I love this movie. It was done extremely well in all aspects. It was hilarious with great action, and I can't wait for the next movie. And that's why Deadpool gets an 8 out of 10. Okay, these movies were close to making it on the list, so I'll quickly talk about them. First of all is Hardcore Henry. This movie came out late 2015 in Russia, but early 2016 in America and Australia. I had never heard about until Mossy told me about it and we watched it together. It's really unique and it's all in first person with some editing. The movie is all in one day, and it's just about this guy who was injured and can't talk and was given cybernetics. And he's being chased by this organization that wants to enslave him because they are making an army of him, and he went against the programming. And it's just him fighting these guys in these gruesome ways, like I love brutality and stuff like that. But there was this scene where he stabbed this guy in the eye with a pen, and that made me feel a little sick. And also, it's just so funny, as well as seeing these guys die in spectacular ways. Like in the last scene, he's fighting these like 20 guys, and he's just brutally beating them up, and he like chucks this guy in a fan, and oh, it's so funny. um, it's also got great parkour in first person. It feels like a game, which is what I think the director was going for. It's just stupidly funny, so don't watch this too seriously. Another was Zootopia. I enjoyed this film a lot. I think it's one of my favorite Disney films. It's got a lot of great messages and good animation, and the characterization. It makes it really entertaining. Now, at the bottom is Suicide Squad. This movie was good, and I like that DC was trying to do. I love the feel and the theme of the movie, and them trying to get back to just the basics and not trying to do anything fancy after the disaster of BVS. Being both dark and cheery with a good soundtrack. What drags it down is the plot. I didn't want them to fight CGI monsters against these gods that can somehow be beat with explosions somehow. And the whole end of the world thing with no Flash, Batman, or Wonder Woman, and the poor representation of Joker by Jared Leto. He was terrible. He looked good, but how he acted was so dumb. Like, to me, the Joker is the Joker from the Arkham series, or the one in the Justice League animated series. Not this weird, slow clap laugh guy that doesn't even sound like him. Like, Mark Hamill probably does a better Joker, like, in the Flash CW series when he plays the Trickster. It's similar to the character of the Joker. Also, Killer Croc should have been bigger, and I wish they did the main team from the comics like Deathstroke, Manta, and a few others, as well as a smaller plot. Like this guy from Watch Culture, made this great video of how he thinks Suicide Squad should have been, and it's perfect. Like, Joker's the main villain, and it's in this circus grounds against his goons, and there's no bomb in the neck. It's just a circle of SWAT who's going to shoot anyone who leaves, and it's much better than the movie. And for those who are Marvel fanboys who thought Captain America Civil War should have been on this list, you're wrong. That movie was a mockery to the great comic. I am never going to watch that abomination again. Same with Batman vs. Superman. I just can't watch retarded Luthor or plot device Superman anymore. I can't. Well, there you have it. My top 3 movies of 2016. Also, I'm going to be doing a discussion of what I hope for in the 2017 comic book movies. Please like and subscribe and check out our other videos. I'm Farmer from Magnanimous. Thanks for watching.